Welcome, my name is Greg McDermott. This is Rogers Back at Home. We're situated in the beautiful French Fort Cove in Miramichi, and this is the 9th annual Miramichi Rotary Pond Hockey Tournament.
I have a bunch of buddies playing here today, so I came down to cheer them on and do some catcalling from the sidelines.
We have our first strategy session for the next year, 3 weeks after we have the tournament.
Oh, really?
Yes, so it is a year-long planning process. We always contact the team, see if there's anything that they like, anything we can do better, and the first meeting's always over the team responses. We see what we can do, if there's things that they'd like to see changed. Talk about what can we add to make the tournament more exciting than the year before. You know, there was a couple of years that we had some well-known NHL players here. Then we started with the fireworks. We added different divisions, just anything we could to try to get as many people involved in this tournament as possible. So yeah, it's a 12, we plan for 12 months, and from September on it's weekly. Well, I mean, they start in January watching the ice, and we have to decide every time it snows whether we're going to clear the ice or not. And then we normally, once a week before the tournament, depending on the weather, the firemen start icing the surfaces, bringing down the Zamboni. Then the process is we start normally on Thursday to set up. This year Mother Nature kind of threw something at us by it raining on Thursday, so we had to set up in one day. But the Miramichi come through, there were extra people down here to help us, and we, you know, the beer tent, the food tent were a little late, but basically we got the games off on time.
Well, Mother Nature decided she was going to flood the ice in the forest this year naturally, and she got a little bit carried away and left about 3 inches of ice on the cove, and or sorry, 3 inches of water. And so it was pretty mild, but we're sitting on about 30 inches of ice, so we're still in good shape. The biggest thing, if you look around, is we don't have much in terms of snowbanks this year.
We have 85 teams registered this year. Last year we went to a 2-day format, which meant we couldn't take as many teams as normal. So we had planned on 75 teams, but we allowed 10 to come into 85 to come into the tournament this year. Everybody gets 4 games, no matter what division they play in. Then in the competitive divisions, then you have a quarter play down, a semi play down, and a final. And we used to play all those play downs on Sunday, but we couldn't get the crowds out, so we do it all on the Saturday, and this year we're going to wrap up with the fireworks at 10 o'clock.
We've got very talented people. While they're all busy and they've got their own professions, they take time from their busy schedule to volunteer for the community. So we've got people from all walks of life in the Rotary that are actively involved in the committee that organizes this event. Well, I think this is an incredible fundraiser. Most Rotary clubs are going to have at least 1 or 2 signature events. And so this has been the signature event for the Rotary Club in Newcastle for the last 8 years, as you well know. And what the club has done, they've learned every year. You run the risk of learning something every year you put on an event of this magnitude. But when you can bring back $15,000 to $20,000 to put back into the community, it's an incredible event. Yeah.
The games are 2 15-minute halves with a 5-minute break in between. The rules are that the puck must go in that little square on one side of the net on the ground. So in other words, the puck cannot be too far off the ground, so there's no such things as slap shots or anything like this. You're not allowed to defend the net, so it's very much everybody's a forward in pond hockey, I guess is the way to put it. It's very fast-paced, energetic game. You need a lot of wind to be able to play pond hockey. It's 15 minutes of hard skating on natural ice, which is a lot different than skating on artificial ice. We used to have a pre-registration process, but it was so popular that we just let them start coming in. We have an early bird draw, so anybody that registers by December 15th name goes into an early bird draw. We like to get our heaviest registration after Christmas. And always in our tournament, we always tried to have 2 ice surfaces just for the public to come and skate, because we want this to be a family event. And I think that's what's really differentiated us from other pond hockey tournaments, is our effort to make it a family event.
As I said, a remarkable community event, and a great pile of winter fun. And we have to, as I say, we spend so much time in winter. We have to enjoy the winter, and this is it. I'm hearing that this is their last year, and I understand because it's a huge pile of work and organization. But it's such a valuable community event, and it's so Canadian. I'm hoping a group will pick it up.
There's a huge cost to this, putting on this tournament. The largest cost is the lights. This event would be simplified and much more cost effective if we ever got permanent lighting in the cove. Because it's very difficult to bring these heavy lights in. Yep. They burn a lot of fuel and they're very expensive to rent. So it is our biggest cost, but it is also adds very much to the mystique of the game to play under the lights at the cove. So it's very much worthwhile to have it. It costs a lot in gas and fuel to get everything ready to come here. We get a fairly good return on our dollar, but not for the physical labor that is involved. But we stopped doing it a long time ago. We did it for the community. I really hope somebody steps in, and it's always been a policy of Rotary to try to start something, make it successful, and then let somebody else have it. If you remember when we used to do the fund run, you know, you do it for a few years, you build up the reputation, and then let some organization come in, because that's what Rotary's all about, is trying to pass money on into the community for good things. So it's a very typical way that Rotary handles things. So we decided that this would be our last year, and hopefully someone's going to step in. And
I go every year. The local club, the Rotary, does an awesome job here, and I think they're trying to pass on the reins this year to someone else, and I hope someone picks it up, because it's Canadians, I mean, we spend half our lives in winter, we might as well enjoy it. They have it at the point right now, it's so well organized, and they have so many teams competing yearly that I think a service club that wants to pick this up, it should be a gem for them. It's all organized, and I know they're ready to hand the whole thing over.
Well, I would probably say it's a burden on the same people. Anytime you've got a Rotary of, say, 15, 20, 30 people, you're calling on those people to take time from their busy schedule to work on the logistics. So and also trying to get a volunteer base that'll continue to work. So it's not just the Rotarians, but also the firefighters. You've got a lot of people working with the city, for example. A lot of people that come here with trucks out of nowhere that volunteer. And I think it's time for another service club or another entity or agency to take it on and allow us to do something different. That's all.
Well, my personal opinion is I'd love for this to go on, and but the reality is that our club in its entirety is about 10 years older than what we were when we started this, and we're starting to feel it. I had 4 games myself playing with my kids, and at 51, my body's telling me I ain't 20 anymore.
If you have a passion for a hobby or something that you're involved with, I think it's a great way to express yourself and to share your passion with the TV viewers out there.
It gives people opportunity to see something that they may not ordinarily see, or they may not go to the rink on their own to see.
People come up to me all the time and tell me that they saw me on TV. Hey, are you on Rogers? That's really cool, and I can tell them, yeah, that's me.
Pray, you make $6 a week. You work 28 weeks. So, you multiply the first number.
Oh, Dr. Spock, can't it wait till we get to the reading dance? I can't do it in my head.
Dude, Pray, give it a go.
Yeah, okay. So it's 28 times 6? Okay. Yep.
It's good, Charlotte. Now, a whole page of big M's and small M's, okay?
Trembled as she touched her lips to his.
Go get up.
Dr. Spock?
in the
You know, you ain't the first doctor to come in here working. There was a guy named Bethune. Yeah, Norman Bethune.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I heard of him. What was he like?
Well, it was okay. Didn't treat us all like little kids the way you do anyhow.
Starting in 1899, a movement of volunteer teachers brought literacy and numbers to work camps across the country, evolved into Frontier College, and now, a century later, has taught reading and basic skills to millions of Canadians.
The atmosphere, you know, having everybody and playing with, you know, people from all over the place, it's a lot of fun.
I'm hearing that the ice is excellent this year, but it is incredible. It's so clear. We've never had that before. But I mean, we work hard to try to make this as good a ice surface as possible. You have to remember that this cove has tidal water in it. So it's always going to be cracking. You can't prevent it because of the tidal backup when the tide comes in and out. But still, I will stand up and say, without a word of a hesitation, that we have the most beautiful spot in all of Canada for a pond hockey tournament. Yeah, I guess the other thing that we never expected is I think this went way beyond a pond hockey tournament. It's way past being about hockey. Hockey's played here, but this is a huge festival in the first week of February. It's a big homecoming where people from away come back to the Miramichi to play hockey. It's unbelievable.
We were finding that on the Sunday, there were not many spectators that were coming for the final game. It was difficult to get the teams to come for the final game, especially they'd been drinking and imbibing the night before. So we found a way of collapsing the schedules, one less day of operations and costs, get it all collapsed over 2 days and allow people to have their Sunday for cleanup and also for family. It's very efficient. It's actually less taxing on our family time than on us personally. So we loved it. We did it last year. We'd recommend that's the way it be next year.
Every year, believe that or not, and I was lucky enough this year to be asked because I was without a team, and then Eric Carroll of Ed Subs and Pizza Shack needed a couple of players just for the sake of having fun. So I can say I played all 9 years, so it's a pretty cool thing. Look, I mean, all you need to do is look around. It's just a fantastic event. The Rotary Club put in 9 solid, hard years of work. You know, one thing that sometimes gets lost too, Stacy, is the fire guys, the fire department here. They're kind of the unsung heroes of the whole thing, so they should get credit where credit's due. It's a beautiful community event, you know. Get out of the house in the middle of February, or excuse me, the 1st of February, and see some old friends and meet some new ones, which is always important.
And to perhaps consider the fact that this time of year is going to be a magical time in the community and promote it accordingly. So many people hibernate this time of year. You know, we have to get them out of their cocoon and blow the stink off them and get them out on the weekend. Make it more of a community event. There are more things we can do here.
This just came in on the radio there by Mr. Brian Settle. Ice 13 and 9.
There's been exponential growth from year number one. Year number one was fantastic. You know, it's funny you would ask me that. I really haven't stopped to think about it, but the first year was just fantastic. Everything just seemed to fall into place. The Rotary faces, God love them, every weather challenge to head on. But year to year, you see, you know, it's funny. I seen the guy here that was from out of town. This is his 7th year coming back to Miramichi. So it's same old tournament, new additions each and every year, and just fantastic.
It's a great event. It's fun. It's lots of beer in the beer tent, so it's a good time. It's fun getting out on the ice every once in a while. So all the guys that work with us for the company, so every year last 2 years we've come in and done that. So it's a good time as long as the weather's good. It's fun. Well, we're just in the non-competitive, so we're not really keeping score. So it's just for fun, but it's a good time.
I think it grows probably every year. The year that I played was the year that the ice here wasn't the greatest and they had it up on the base. And that was a lot of fun, but I think this year's probably one of the biggest that I've seen so far.
The winner of the women's division, Curly.
We have to make sure that we get enough sponsors, and that's always going to be an issue. You have to defend the investment, and so you're going to have sponsors that will come and go, and that's a challenge. It's always going to be a challenge to get teams to come. Pond hockey is very, very popular throughout Atlantic Canada, and so at any given winter you're going to have upwards of 50 to 60 pond hockey tournaments throughout the region. So there's only a finite amount of money that the average team is going to have. They have to pick and choose. So getting teams will always be a challenge. Something as simple as getting a food vendor that we can depend on, getting a representative from either Molson or Labatt, in this case Molson, but getting those key sponsors and partners are critical. Well, we struggled till the very end, but we got the same amount of teams that we've had in the past year, which is important. We'll never have enough sponsors. You just never do. You like to. We'd like to have a major sponsor for the fireworks, for example. When that doesn't happen, you've got smaller sponsors, but it's always a challenge in that regard to get enough sponsors.
Well, the biggest thing about PR is just making sure that all the media outlets understand and know what's going on, and when we have to change things, Mother Nature has a habit of throwing little curveballs at us, so we have to keep everybody aware of what's going on.
What we do every morning, if, for instance, a Saturday morning after a Friday, is we do what we call a puck hunt. And a puck hunt is where we all try to walk around the perimeter and look for the stray pucks. And because of Thursday's thaw, all the perimeter ice on the rinks have disappeared. So we had the Army cadets out doing puck chasing on the Friday night, but it becomes a contact sport. We try to find pucks throughout the park. So walking into the woods one morning, this morning, I put my foot through the shallow ice on the shore. A casualty at war.
McDonald Buick GMC Cadillac is your GMC giant. As one of Atlantic Canada's largest GMC dealerships, McDonald Buick not only specializes in trucks, but also in pre-owned vehicles.
The Acadian Village first started out in the 1970s, so they went out in northwest, southeast, and northwest of New Brunswick, and they done research on those buildings and brought them here to assemble sort of just like an Acadian Village in the 1800s. Well, this place is unique because it's historically correct. We don't have electricity, we don't have running water, we don't have tires or cars or nothing. Even the people that works here have to follow a certain code that was just like in those times. The visitors say that they love it and they like the historic point of view of our buildings, and our people that work here are very knowledgeable. They're happy to work here.
This program is brought to you in part by Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals, Canada's huggable car dealer in Fredericton and Oromocto. Used cars, trucks, minivans, SUVs, sports cars, and more. 402 St. Mary Street in Fredericton.
Well, we have our cadets here, so I'm here looking after them, but it's also nice to get down to the pond, see some of the hockey action, and enjoy the weekend. It's a good event in the Miramichi, so it's nice.
Have you been here?
No, I've been here a few years before, yeah. I always try to come down on the weekend and check it out and see what's going on. I'm not a hockey player, never really played in my life, so not very good. Yeah, cadets are here chasing pucks all weekend. So when the puck goes off the ice, they run after it and get it back into play as quick as they can, so that there's not big stoppages in play all throughout the weekend. We have about 10 per shift, and they each do 4-hour shifts, and they've been here all weekend. So we try to do as much volunteering for the community as possible. It's our goal to help out the community, so citizenship's a big part of the cadet program. It's a lot of fun. It's good to see different people from the community get out and enjoy themselves. There's not a whole lot left in the community that's really big and that everybody tries to get to, so it's nice in the winter, especially for everybody to get out and have some fun.
Incorrectly. H-I-L-L-I-I. Yeah, we all know that's incorrect.
We decided that this would be our last year, and hopefully someone's going to step in, and we will, what's the word? We will consult with them. but at the end of the day, our name is not going to be associated with it going forward.
There's going to be a brand new boardwalk going into this French Fork Cove, and they've got all the materials up in the parking lot right now. Sometime around May and June, they're going to be building that boardwalk. It's going to intersect the cove almost half. So that's going to be a challenge for the next group to take it on, because you can't get a Zamboni on the other side of the boardwalk. So those 5 rinks out of the 13 that we have cannot be serviced. So whoever takes it on is going to have to do things differently. Perhaps have the 8 remaining rinks that are serviced by a Zamboni, and perhaps have a community skate on the other side of the boardwalk. So there's creative ways of taking advantage of that. You pace yourself. I mean, I ref most of the games, so I try to, and we make sure that we coordinate the referees so they'll get an hour or 2 break throughout the day. And there's a very warm tent for them to go in there and congregate. Yeah. It's also a good social activity. There's about 35 active Rotarians in the club. There's going to be numbers that'll be leaving. You know, we have some members that will perhaps get a job and out of town, so they can't come to the lunch meetings. We'll have some members that perhaps can't come to lunch meetings, but they're active for events. And so attendance isn't as critical as it used to be for those particular lunches. We're looking for people that are active in the community, that want to give something back. They want to have good stewardship, good community service. We're hoping to line up something in the fall, something like an Oktoberfest and maybe a washer toss, maybe recreation for the kids, but it would be a warmer climate. The fall is the best time of year in Atlantic Canada, so if we can do it in the fall, it'd be much better than having the dead of winter. Yeah.
So is it the winter that's causing problems here, or some of them?
Well, some of them, yes, that's right. It's one thing to get older, but to get colder too, it's not a good combination.
I think someone should get together and figure something out to have it, because it brings a lot of people too. So I mean, it's not just for the people playing, it's for the people watching. So no, I think it's all the same. I mean, it doesn't take much to pull off an event like this. It's just, you know, it's just a fun thing. So, you know.
The fire guys, the fire department here, they're kind of the unsung heroes of the whole thing, so they should get credit where credit's due. It's a beautiful community event, you know. Get out of the house in the middle of February, or excuse me, the 1st of February, and see some old friends and meet some new ones, which is always important.
I played in previous years. Yeah, I played for one of the non-competitive leagues a couple of years ago. Yeah, absolutely. If the event keeps going, which hopefully it does, I'd love to play again for sure. Yeah, we heard that the Rotary Club they can't pull it off anymore, which, you know, sucks, but hopefully they can, you know, hopefully somebody will back it and they'll have it again. I think it grows probably every year. The year that I played was the year that the ice here wasn't the greatest and they had it up on the base. And that was a lot of fun, but I think this year's probably one of the biggest that I've seen so far.
I play so badly that most people don't want me on their team. They have it at the point right now, it's so well organized and they have so many teams competing yearly that I think a service club that wants to pick this up, it should be a gem for them. It's all organized and I know they're ready to hand the whole thing over. I'm hearing that this is their last year, and I understand because it's It's a huge pile of work and organization, but it's such a valuable community event, and it's so Canadian. I'm hoping a group will pick it up.
Well, we struggled till the very end, but we got the same amount of teams that we've had in the past year, which is important. We'll never have enough sponsors. You just never do. You like to. We'd like to have a major sponsor for the fireworks, for example. When that doesn't happen, you've got smaller sponsors, but it's always a challenge in that regard to get enough sponsors. We have no sponsor this year. In past we have, and so that's something that the Rotary is going to be picking up in the way of costs, and it's a very expensive cost. But it's important for the community to see that as part of this event. It's also for us a good way for us to go out with a bang.
Yeah, I guess the other thing that we never expected is I think this went way beyond a pond hockey tournament. It's way past being about hockey. Hockey's played here, but this is a huge festival. In the first week of February, it's a big homecoming where people from away come back to the Miramichi to play hockey. It's unbelievable. I just want to say with all my sincerity and heart, and thank the people of the Miramichi for supporting us by putting teams in, by being sponsors, by being volunteers, and just coming out to the pond for a wonderful weekend.
Call the Rogers TV Viewer Response